Hi, I'm Judy and I'm the designer of the Kolokitha Beach Socks. In part one of these series of tutorials, I showed you how to work a provisional cast on using the crochet method. Today we're going to fold over the heel tab and we're going to pick up the stitches from the provisional cast on and knit them together with the live stitches. Let me show you how.
So where are we so far? We've worked a provisional cast on and then knit the first part of the cuff. We've then worked German short rows back and forward to create this wedge which will fold over to make the heel tab. We've then gone on to knit the second part of the cuff. You're now going to need a spare DPN to pick up your provisional stitches, or a circular needle, or you can free up one of your needles from your existing set of DPNs. So I'll work my sample using that method. Locate the beginning of your round, so this is where the provisional chain starts. These first stitches will remain on your first needle, and you'll slip the stitches that are on your second needle back onto your first needle, so you'll have double the number of stitches on that first needle than you do on your other two needles. So there we are. I now have 28 stitches on that first needle along there, and I have 14 stitches on each of these two needles. Now this is the bit where the heel tab comes alive, when we join the provisional cast on with the live stitches. It's not difficult, but it can be a bit fiddly, so just take your time. There are different ways to pick up the stitches from the provisional cast on. I've seen some people do it from the purl row. So you see these little purl bumps? Well, you can go into the stitch with your needle to pick them up from the purl side. I personally prefer to turn my work round completely and pick up the stitches going from left to right from the knit side of your work. It's the part you normally see, so in my opinion it just makes it easier to go from this side. Now when we work a provisional cast on using the chain method, your first stitch is actually a half stitch. So we have a way of working this when it comes to knitting the stitches together. But for now we're going to go straight in and pick up the stitches. So if you locate your second leg of your first stitch, ignoring that first half stitch, so needle in and pick it up. Then the second leg of the second stitch, and continue around like that until you've got a manageable number of stitches on your needle. Obviously you can't go all the way around with a straight needle, so just work sort of 12, 13, 14 stitches on that needle, and then we'll unzip the provisional cast on chain. As I said, it can be a bit fiddly, and I think I've actually picked up the wrong leg of one of my stitches, but it can be sorted out when we're actually knitting the stitches together by going into the back of the stitch instead of the front, and it'll be quite obvious to you which way to put your needles in when it comes to knitting the stitches together. So that's a comfortable enough number of stitches for me. So just straighten out your work a bit and then go back to this provisional cast on chain. We're now going to turn the work and we'll loosen off the chain. This was why it was important to keep that chain very loose to begin with. we undo the knot at the end, and then we just pull the chain out. I'll just slide my stitches up a little bit and then go again. Just give it a good tug. And if you feel you meet with a little bit of resistance, just stretch your stitches out a bit and then pull again. Stretch your stitches out and give it a pull. This is just where you've maybe gone into your provisional cast on yarn a little bit. Okay, that's unzipping quite well there. And don't unzip your stitches to the very end. Leave some stitches on your needle just in case you accidentally go on to stitches that you haven't already put on your needle. Okay, we're at the point now where we can fold up our work and knit the two sides together. So the stitches that were the provisional cast on that are now on your needle and your live stitches. Now we're not going to knit these two first stitches together because remember we're going to have to make an extra half stitch at the beginning of the round. So grab hold of that tail from the provisional cast on side and we wrap it around our needle. You can wrap it round over the top or underneath and forward. It doesn't matter. You're just creating a loop so that you can knit into as if it was a stitch. Knit it with the first stitch of your live stitches. And then just continue along the row, knitting all your stitches together. You might find it easier to knit into the two stitches and then take the first stitch over and off. I'll show you this time. So into your two stitches. Oops, I've missed that stitch. Over, take the first stitch off, slip it off the needle, and then work the second yarn stitch over the top of that stitch that you've just taken off. So into both stitches, oh, that's a tight one, over, through, I missed the stitch, sorry, over, off, and then that stitch over the top. Oops, see, now I've come to the bit where I went into the first leg of the stitch instead of the second one. So this time I'm going into the back of that back stitch. So into the front of the front stitch, but into the back of the back stitch. But it just depends on how your stitches lie. You see, I'm going into the back there. But if you picked up your stitches evenly around into the second leg, you shouldn't have to do that. Okay, we now come to the bit where we've met our provisional cast on again, so we're ready to turn our work and pick up more stitches from the provisional cast on side. I'll try and pick up the correct leg this time. Oops. Just picking up stitches, and we just continue like this, picking up stitches, working them together, turning the work, picking up more stitches, turning the work, knitting them together, and we just carry on like that until we get to the end of the work, and then I'll show you what happens then. We've reached our last set of stitches, so we're just ready to pull out the end of this provisional cast on. So just give it a nice little stretch and a tug, and hopefully it'll come out all the way through. And yes, it does. Lovely. And this end can just be woven in once you've finished knitting to the end of the row. So I'll just get my stitches up and ready again, and we'll just knit them together, and I'll see you at the end. So that's our trainer sock cuff complete. We'll just have to tidy away some loose ends. I'll just slide the half of these stitches onto another needle and show you what it looks like when it's all flattened out. So just grab your fourth needle and slip half of your stitches onto that needle. So there we are, flatten it all out, and we've got the shape of our heel tab at the back there. Really nice transitions from the German short rows, just with that alternative German short row that I showed you in a previous tutorial. We've got our nice heel tab at the back there, comfortable for wearing trainers, of course. And you've got that lovely seam from the provisional cast on edge. So that's the heel cuff complete. We now do a few more rounds, and then we'll get straight into working the wrap and turn heel, and I hope you can join me for that.